From volcanoes on Mars to scraps on Mercury, how places on other worlds get their names. This is on the conversation having to do with space. The New Horizons spacecraft, which flew past Pluto in 2015, successfully completed a flyby of Ultima Thule, an object in the Kuiper Belt of bodies beyond Neptune, January 1st, 2009. This is by David Rothery of the Open University. It's on the conversation. I'll leave a link below for you for this. So yeah, we had a flyby of Ultima Thule, and the name Ultima Thule, signifying a distant unknown place, is fitting, but is currently just a nickname pending formal naming. The official names of the body and of features on its first surface will eventually be allocated, and this could take years, by the International Astronomical Union, IAU, which celebrates its centenary in 2019. The IAU's achievements during the first few decades include resolving contradictory set of names given to features on the moons and Mars by rival astronomers during their previous 2 centuries. The nomenclature working group's task would then have been largely over had the space age not dawned, allowing space probes to send back images revealing spectacular landscapes detailed on the planets and their moons. Planetary scientists would find life difficult without names for at least the largest or most prominent features on the body. If there were no names, the only ways to be sure that other investigators could locate the same feature would be by numbering them or specifying map conditions. Either option could be cumbersome and unmemorable. And the rules are these. Building on some of the already entrenched lunar and Martian names, the IAU imposed order by establishing them for themes for the names of features on each body. For example, large craters on Mars are named after deceased scientists and writers associated with Mars. There's an Asimov and a Da Vinci, as we know, craters, and later craters less than 60 kilometers across are named after towns and villages on Earth. There's the Bordeaux crater and the Cadiz crater, for example. Apart from craters, most names are in 2 parts, with a descriptor term of Latin origin named to denote the type of feature that has been named. On Mars, we found neighboring valleys called Ares Vallis, Tiu Vallis, and Simud Vallis, which are the description term. Vallis is Latin for valley. This is preceded by the word for Mars in a different language, and in those examples, Greek, Old English, Germanic, and Sumerian, respectively. Among other descriptor terms are Chasma, which means a hasma, with deep, like a gorge, I would say, a deep elongated depression. Mons, meaning mountain. Platitia, a low-lying plain, and planum, meaning plain or plateau. Descriptor terms are chosen to avoid implying that we know how many particular features are formed, and there are many scraps on Mercury, for example, and are currently interpreted as thrust faults, where one region of the planet's surface had been pushed over another. And however, natural descriptor terms, in this case rupus, Latin for scrap, is issued so that you would not have to be renamed if it were to realize that we'd been misinterpreting them. Similarly, none of the giant mountains on Mars, there are almost certainly volcanoes, has volcano as a formal part of its name. The largest volcano on Mars, Olympus Mons, coincides with an ephemeral bright spot that can sometimes be discerned through telescopes. Though this was initially dubbed Nix Olympica, meaning the snows of Olympus, by the 19th century observer Giovanni Schiaparelli, space probes have since shown that the temporary brightness is not snow but clouds that sometimes gather around that summit. The IAU decided to keep the Olympus part of the name, qualifying the more appropriate descriptor Mons, Olympus Mons, in Latin. Cultural balance. The IAU is rightly sensitive to achieving cultural gender balance. Names of the lunar craters inherited commemorative famous past scientists, which for historical reasons were dominated male in the western part of the world. And in partial compensation, the IAU decided that all females on Venus whose surface was virtually unknown because of its global cloud cover until we got radar spacecraft to orbit, would be named after females, deceased or mythical. For example, there is the Nightingale corona, a large oval-shaped feature named after Florence Nightingale. The only non-female exceptions are 3 features that had already been named after being detected by Earth-based radar. Captain Cook and the Maoris. The IAU has struggled to achieve cultural balance for some features. For example, the theme for Rupis on Mercury is ships of discovery or scientific expeditions, but the nature of world history, by the nature of world history, there is a preponderance of Western ship names. For example, we find Adventure, Discovery, Endeavour, and Resolution, all 4 ships from Captain Cook's 18th century voyages to the Southern Ocean and the Pacific. So, that said, it would be nice to redress the balance in connection with the European Planetary Mapping Project. It says here, one of his PhD students hopes to get at least one of Mercury's and yet unnamed Rupis named after a canoe in which the Maori arrives in New Zealand. Ultimately, space exploration is, of course, for all humanity. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.